So with this episode of the music series, we're going to continue and we're going to go all the way to Cyprus because that's where my next guest is. And she hails from Scotland. She's singer-songwriter Kirsty Dewar. How are you today?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no problem. I'm excited, well, for many reasons, because now I have two countries to introduce instead of one, which is a new thing for me. It's just fantastic. And I like reaching out all over the place, all over the world. So this is great for me. Thank you for coming on the show.
No, thank you. It's really, really cool and something very different for me as well. This is really good fun. So, yeah.
Well, fantastic. Well, Canada welcomes you. And I want to know more about your music because I like to introduce new artists to everybody listening. And we're going to start there. But before we get to your latest track, which is fantastic, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
A great track, a great video, which we will talk about all of that. I want the audience to get to know you a little bit more. So give us a little bit of your background and how you became an artist and how you started.
Well, I started very young, probably like most musicians, and I went to school and studied music, and then I went to university in Edinburgh, and I got my degree in popular music. So I graduated with my degree, and I was in Scotland for a little while, and I was staying at home, and to be honest, I wanted to travel. I really wanted to travel, so I thought, okay, let's try Europe. I did a couple of places in Europe, and I ended up in Cyprus. And I've been in Cyprus for many years now, working, performing, writing, and still have many connections back in the UK. I fly back and forth a lot. I'm actually flying back next month, the beginning of next month, to finish my album, which will be out in March. And I flew back in November to finish some work. So I'm in Cyprus currently, but always back and forth to the UK to do some performances, to do some recording, and my producer is in the UK as well, so, and my manager. So yeah, so it's nice. I'm lucky to be in Cyprus right now because I know the UK is freezing, so I'm very, very lucky to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Now, musically, do you have any specific influences that inspire your writing and your sound?
Oh, for sure. I'd say for me, a big influence for me when I'm writing is, say, for example, artists like Evanescence. I'm a huge, huge Evanescence fan. Imagine Dragons, Queen. These were all artists I was listening to for many years. And to be honest, my dad was listening to everything when I was younger, like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, a lot of this 50s and 60s rock and roll. So I think some of my music has a bit of a kind of rock blues influence, 100%, as well as the contemporary elements of, Evanescence and Pink as well, for sure. So,
now getting back a little bit on how you started in with the whole music thing. Now I know you play a lot of instruments, a lot of different instruments. Now, does that influence kind of what you do? Do you have a favorite instrument? Did any one of them in particular influence you to continue with music?
To be honest, I don't think so. I think my passion for music is just in my soul, and I think any musicians that are listening will know that if it's in your soul, it just drives you. But I mean, to be honest, about an hour ago, I picked up my cello that I haven't played in like 2 years. And I think for me, the instrument doesn't influence the songwriting or the passion. It's just inside, But I think when I'm writing music, depending on my mood, it will depend on which instrument I use. So if I'm in a kind of funky mood, I'll get the guitar. Or if I'm in a kind of chilled, ballad mood, I'll get the piano, So for me, it depends on the mood, for sure, about the songwriting.
Well, let's talk about mood, because your latest track, Influence, very, very good. It goes very hard. It's how it flows is amazing. And tell me about how you came up with it.
Well, what I did was I use Logic and I use Pro Tools on my computer, and I found a really, really basic loop for the drums and a bass loop that I found from their samples. And it was like a boom, 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 boom. And I kind of started to develop that. And sometimes I'll develop from a loop or it'll be from an instrument, like I said. But this one started from a very, very simple loop. And it was like a 2-bar loop. And I built it from there. And as soon as I heard that bass line from the loop, I was like, I've got it. And I literally wrote Influence in about maybe 15 minutes. And it just came to me, this one particular song. Some songs, take days and days, weeks, months, whatever. But this one was instant. And I knew instantly that it was going to be the title track of the EP. It was going to be the top track of the EP. And it was the only one I've yet to make a music video for, because I believe in it so much. So Yeah, so I think when you write a song like that, you just know that this is the one. This is the one I'm gonna take further. This is the one I'm gonna use to pursue, for the album and following albums. This is the standard I have to meet now. But yeah, it's a fantastic track and it keeps you engaged, I think, throughout.
No, definitely. And I'm a big fan of choruses and hooks, and
Yeah.
this one definitely has a very, very influential one. And I
Yeah.
think we've sold it enough for everybody to hear. So I think we should let everybody else listen to it right now.
Oh yes, please.
So here's Kirsty Dewar with Influence right here on the Sunday Night Army.
Everything about you makes me feel weak. Your smile, your hair, it brings me down to my knees. I can't control how I'm feeling underneath your influence. I'm taking my time trying to figure you out. You're dark and mysterious right down to the ground. Heart is black as the night, but I'm still stuck under your influence. Tell me, how do I make it through the night without falling down? I gotta keep my head. You were the last thing that I saw before I closed my eyes. So shall I wake up instead? You were my influence. You were my influence. Everything that you say to me resounds in my head. I'm not gonna lie and I won't pretend. You were my influence. Every night I'm with you, you get under my skin. I tell you every single time, but you're not listening. I can't control how I'm feeling underneath your influence. You don't say too much, but the words you do say goes over in my mind. It's a game that we play, confidence stretch for miles. That's why I'll always be in your influence. Tell me, how do I make it through the night without falling down? I gotta keep my head. You were the last thing that I saw before I closed my eyes. So shall I wake up instead? You were my influence. You were my influence. Everything that you say to me resounds in my head. I'm not gonna lie and I won't pretend. You were my influence. I wanna take you down, will you keep on falling or will you stay right here? Shattered my pieces a million times, but I know I'll never be clear of you. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna say that you never had me hooked. But I break you down like you broke me down, even if you knew I could. You were my influence. You were my influence. You were my influence. You were my influence. Everything that you say to me resounds in my head. I'm not gonna lie and I won't pretend. You were my influence.
There you go. That was Influence, and it will be on the Spotify playlist for the show. Nice and easy. Play, like, follow, subscribe, all the other cool stuff on Spotify. Now, the music video for this, you have the actual music video. You have some stuff behind the scenes on YouTube. Tell me about how it felt making this music video.
Well, to be honest, it was really spooky. We were in, I have a videographer, he's a German friend of mine called Marcus, and he said, look, I've got a great location. The song itself is very powerful, but it's quite a dark song. So I want to find a setting that's quite dark, but also represents like the power of the song. I was like, okay, great. So we went to this old haunted house, and this is in the mountains in Cyprus. And it's like, I think it was at one point it was like a doctor's surgery.
Oh, wow.
And it's completely abandoned, and it's so spooky. And we went like a month ago, so the sun was starting to set really early, and it started to get dark. So it was really, really, really eerie. But I think it kind of represents the song really well. So it's, you know, totally abandoned. It's in kind of rubbles now. All of the brickwork is falling off, and there's some really creepy things. Like there's some handprints on the wall, whether it's blood or paint, we don't know. And we put it in the video. But the setting was perfect. You know, it's quite a dark song, but also quite powerful. So we thought this is fantastic, and the colors as well, the natural light that was coming through at that time of day were fantastic. So yeah, it was good fun as well. It was really good fun.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good video. Everybody should check it out on YouTube in the channel. Now, coming up, you have an 10-track album in March coming out. What's behind that? How are you putting it together?
Well, the songs that are on the album now were written over the last 4, 5, 6 months, some of which maybe were written during COVID as well. So there's a couple of newer ones, a couple of older ones. And they've come together really nicely. And I was supposed to release it in December, actually, but a few things had to go on hold. Recently, I've just signed to a management company in England. And he's like, look, we need to get back in the studio. We're going to change a few things. So I'm flying back to London in a couple of weeks to change it. So it's going to be out now in hopefully early March. And it's going to be called Outgrown. So yeah, it's exciting. It took, I'd say, the best part of a year to get this album really finished. And it's, in my opinion, it's better than the EP. It's a bit heavier. Some of the songs are a bit heavier, but some of the songs are a bit more upbeat, you know, so there's a bit of everything for everybody.
Oh, that's fantastic. So that's a lot to do, even at the very beginning of this year. That's a lot to stuff to put together. Now that'll leave you with a bunch of months for 2023. What else do you have planned for the rest of the year?
Well, as soon as I'm in the UK, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be starting to get my band together for a tour. So we're going to be auditioning some musicians and getting a band lined up and just starting to tour as soon as we can, you know. So, and hopefully make it in time for the summer festival season, maybe catch a few festival gigs and just start to tour the UK, and then hopefully from there on, who knows, you know, maybe Europe and maybe even Canada one day.
Fantastic. Of course, we're always ready for your tours, so you let us know. And my UK audience, which is huge, make sure you catch all the tours. Now, if everybody listening wanted to keep up with what you're doing, where you're doing, and where you're going to be gigging, where can they find you?
The best place, I think, at the minute is either Facebook or Instagram. So it's just facebook.com/Kirsty Dewar Music, and the same on Instagram. Either that or my website, which is kirstydewarmusic.com.
Fantastic. Kirsty, thank you so much for coming on the show. Of course, all your music will be on the Spotify playlist for the show, nice and easy. And Kirsty will be linked with all the show's posts on Instagram, Facebook. You guys can find her super fast. Link in the description. Like, follow, subscribe, do all that cool stuff, support your independent artists. And yeah, it'll be fantastic. Again, thank you for coming on the show.
No, thank you guys. Thank you for having me, and thank you to all your lovely listeners.